much of this you can actually see in the camera, since I have no way of seeing the camera view thing. It is now 2:30 in the morning, so I'm trying to keep it quiet because my roommates are actually asleep. But this is a very simplified look of a Callowlily artwork piece. She's an amazing artist. I'm going to link some of her social media down below. I love, love, love her work. This is a very simplified version of her look, but I think it's super fun. I think it's something that's easy to achieve, very colorful, and when I saw it, I was very inspired. I absolutely loved it. So this is the first look, and if you would like to see how to do it, keep on watching. I'll be starting off with Ben Nye Liquid Latex. I wanted to create some 3D elements in the beginning of this to show you some options that you have. So I'm creating some drip dots. Just make sure that you're keeping the majority of the latex at the bottom of the drip, and then just kind of spreading it thinner at the top to smooth out with your skin. Before you do any painting, you're going to want to make sure that these are completely dry, so make sure that you're planning accordingly for that. And so I'm just doing it down the center of the face and down onto my chest. Now this is the portion of the video where you suddenly realize your camera has not been on this entire time. But that's okay. Moving forward, I'm using the Callowlily Aqua Color palette, and I'm using the teal color to kind of block out the entire shape of where I want the skeleton to be. You can see I started with a little bit of eyeshadow on a brush to kind of outline the areas, and now I'm just going in after the main color is blocked in to use that same teal color with a little bit of the black kind of watered down to kind of sketch out where I want all of the individual elements to be. You don't have to be super precise with this, which is kind of nice, but you're just kind of wanting to block in where you want those main elements to go. Once I'm happy with where I've placed these kind of finer little details of where I'm mapping out where things are going to go, I'm going to go in with one of my favorite palettes. It's a BH Cosmetics matte eyeshadow palette, and I'm using this darker teal color combined with some of the black. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to first be using that teal color to kind of block out where I want shadowing to be on the edges of everything. And what's nice about this is you don't have to be super precise. And if you find an area where you've added too much of the teal, just kind of keep working at it and blending it outwards, and you'll find that it will actually soften it up quite a bit. And again, you don't have to be super precise. This is kind of just laying where you want some of that color in that shadow before you start layering the black, so you don't lose too much of your teal. Gives it kind of a nice 3D effect. Moving on to that black shade, I'm first using it to kind of really sharpen up the edges of things a bit and then blending it downwards into the remainder of that color. Now you don't want to go super heavy-handed with this because that black really can overtake all of your paint fairly quickly. So just keep it kind of light-handed and you can build it up in layers, which is really nice. And again, if you find an area where you've just gone a little bit too harsh, just keep working it in small circles and blending outward, keeping the most concentrated portion of the color in the area where you want it to be, like a crease or an edge. And you'll find that it is able to smoke out pretty easily, so it's very user-friendly, one of my favorite methods for adding shadowing and details. Here I'm just using a smaller brush to go in with just a little bit of that white powder and kind of blending it into the higher points of the areas of where I really want those angles and areas to just pop more. It gives more of a 3D element and kind of helps soften out that black a little bit as well to make sure that not too much detailing is lost. And again, this is something where it's just going to be kind of a blurred effect, so it doesn't have to be super precise, but it adds just a nice little touch to your end result. I'm now going in with one of my Nye Cake palettes. I absolutely love these things, you guys. The concentration of color is amazing and it's super easy to work with, and you just use it with a little bit of water. So you can actually make it thicker, thinner, more concentrated, whatever works for your needs. So this, I'm just dampening it down and I'm using a fairly flat brush to just kind of fill in all those areas around the skeleton. Now you want to be somewhat precise with this because this is where you're making your really clean edges on things, but then just go ahead and fill in the rest. Now what's beautiful about this product is it's super concentrated on pigment, but it leaves a very nice matte finish in the end, and you're able to build shadows and colors on top of it. Absolutely love these things. Not extremely expensive, and a little bit goes a long way, so these things will last you a long time. So it's definitely something that I have the black and the white of in my collection that I use on a regular basis. Here I'm taking a very fine, small, squared off brush to just kind of fill in the brows in a similar manner that Callowlily has in her artwork. So for this brow, think 90s, think the brow that we are all ashamed of. And on this brow I'm going to be doing, I hate to use the word more realistic because this is not going to be very realistic, but what you're going to do is kind of fill it in 3/4 of the way towards the front, and then turn the brush sideways to kind of make little hair strokes towards the front of it. Going back to the two lightest pink shades in my BH Cosmetics palette, I'm using that same smaller brush I used earlier for the white, and I'm just creating little galaxy effects. The easiest way to do this is just dip into that color, and then you're going to tap it where you want the most concentrated areas to be. So you're just going to kind of tap it around and create little cloud effects, and then just with what's remaining on your brush, you're going to continue to tap outwards and kind of do little swirling motions to just kind of soften off the edges of that. And you're just going to use that effect throughout the entire black area. And again, this is something that doesn't have to be super precise, just have some areas that are more concentrated than others. Now this is the portion, again, where my camera was not working. Go figure. But I'm using this Nye, the Cake palette again, but in white, and creating little dots all over. And then I'm going back in with that second pink color, and I'm gonna just start filling in the eyebrow area on this opposite side. I'm gonna bring it all the way down under the lid, and then I'm going to start using the colors across that same palette of the darker pinks. I'm going to keep it more concentrated a little bit lower down towards the lid, and then going in with the purples, you're going to start blending it and kind of creating a smoke effect. Now when you get to that darkest purple shade, I keep it towards the inner corner and the outer corner of the lid, and then just kind of keep smoking it upwards. And then we're going to eventually keep bringing it outwards on that outer corner up towards the point of the brow. Think smoked cat's eye. I'm going to do the same thing on the lower lid, keeping the purple to the outer corners as well. Back to my black Nye Cake palette, I'm going to start creating a very exaggerated thick cat's eye. I'm just creating a straight line up to that point of my outer point of the brow, and then I'm just going to make a very thick cat's eye across the lid. I am going to bring it down here below the lid. I'm keeping it mostly towards the lashes, but you are going to do it very thick because this is a very exaggerated look. Here I'm just adding a little bit of pink to the tip of the nose. And I'm using an e.l.f. crayon that's actually a lip crayon that's in kind of a dusty rose color, just to fill in where I'm going to be wanting the lips to go, because I'm going to be overlining in a very exaggerated manner. And then I'm going back in with a rose color to create kind of a shadow effect to those outside edges to help kind of give that volume look as well and define the edge. Here I'm just darkening up a little bit more of that pink because I wasn't very happy with how light it was, so I'm using that second pink shade. And I'm also kind of dusting it a little bit over the lips to kind of tie the pink together. Here I'm just adding an extension on my lips as well as an outline with that same black color to kind of give it more of almost like a graphic novel feel and an exaggerated smirk. Back to the aqua palette, I'm actually going to be using a pink tone, and here I'm going to be creating a drip effect below the eyelids, kind of like how we did down the center of the face, but without the latex element. So if you don't have latex, or you have an allergy to it, or something that you can use as an alternative, this is the way that you can create kind of drip effects as well. So you're going to kind of use the lightest pink tone, and you're going to start making basically the outline of where you want that color to be and just blocking it in. Then you're going to start going in with a little bit of black mixed in to create those shadow effects below wherever a drip area is going to be, and then just kind of blend it out before it gets too dry to kind of soften it up a bit. Here I'm adding almost a half a heart shape to the top of the lid, just to kind of keep in line with the artwork as well. I wasn't happy with how dark it was, so I went and, while it was still wet, blended in a little bit more white to make it pop a little bit more. And I'm using that same pink and white color to start adding highlights to the lower portions of the drips, and then you just soften them by blending it upwards, keeping it to that highlighted edge. Now to make things really pop, I'm going in with 2 glitter mixes that I got at the craft store, and I'm using some of that Nye liquid latex. All I'm doing is I'm using an ultrafine brush with a little bit of that latex half dried on the back of it. The reason for that being is I'm going to use the actual brush point to create little tiny dots of the liquid latex, and then I'm using the back, since I've made it kind of sticky, to be able to pick up a single piece of glitter to be able to place on the spot that I want it to be. You can see I've already added pieces of glitter and little star glitter shapes in the galaxy areas in the black on the opposite side. So I'm just kind of reflecting that same effect on the other side, and then I'm just going to add these lashes with a thick coating of mascara because we want some really exaggerated lashes for this look, because we don't want to lose your eyes in this kind of heavier eye makeup look. Now Callowlily's artwork is super amazing. It has an entire tatted arm of ice creams and colors that tie it all together. Really beautiful effect. Here I'm just going to be blocking in some of those pinks and teals to tie it together, and then adding some of those glitter dots just to kind of bring it down to match the elements that we've done. And then I followed up by adding some pink highlights to the cheeks, the nose, and the collarbone region. Then you're going to want to move forward and add just a little bit of that black eyeshadowing onto the flesh tones along the edge of that skeleton, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a 3D pop. Now just to finish off this look, I'm going to be adding a little bit of glitter to the shoulder since I kind of went so lazy with it. I'm going to be taking a cheap lavender wig that I got from a party store and half sprayed with pink hairspray and a contact lens in what you would consider the normal side, and the look is complete.